Hey everyone, welcome back to TechBit Academy. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking on a topic that can literally make or break your tech initiatives. We are demystifying software project management. You know, taking a complex architecture all the way from a basic concept to fully functioning code without the whole deployment spiraling out of control. Well, it's an art. But more importantly, it's a rigorous science. So let's roll up our sleeves and explore the anatomy of successful software project management together.
Here's the roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The 4 Ps of SPM. 2. Setting smart project goals. 3. Defining project scope. 4. The work breakdown structure. And finally, 5. Beware of scope creep.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to think for a second. Consider a time when a seemingly simple project, maybe just a weekend coding task, or a totally straightforward client request, suddenly turned completely chaotic. Deadlines were blown, budgets totally evaporated, and everyone just ended up frustrated. So why does that happen? Why do so many software projects completely fail? Honestly, it almost always boils down to a lack of foundational structure.
Let's start with Section 1, the 4 Ps of SPM. This is the foundation of your success.
Our 4 pillars are people, product, process, and project. This brilliantly illustrates the absolute high-level strategy you must have locked down before a single line of code is ever written. You need the right people on the job, a really clear understanding of the product being built, a strictly defined process for how to build it, and of course, tight management of the overall project itself.
Zooming in specifically on that 4th pillar, the project. Managing a project isn't just about cheering on your developers. It means strictly planning and controlling 4 very specific constraints. You've got time, which is your hard deadline. You've got cost, your absolute budget. Scope, which dictates exactly what you're actually building. And finally, risk. If literally any one of these constraints breaks, the whole project can collapse.
Let's pause and look a little closer at handling risk, because, let's be real, things rarely go exactly to plan in software. The logical flow here involves 3 steps. Step 1 is to identify the risk before it even happens. Step 2 is to analyze that risk, to really understand its potential impact. And Step 3 is to mitigate it, basically putting a plan in action to prevent it or at least soften the blow. Handling risks systematically like this is exactly what separates amateur builds from true professional project management.
Moving on to Section 2, setting smart project goals. It's time to set clear targets.
The SMART framework. This is a methodology designed to set clear, achievable goals. And the really crucial takeaway here is how it forces the transformation of a vague, fuzzy idea into a trackable, highly manageable target. Whether you're doing project planning, student learning, or high-level business management, this framework bridges that gap between just a dream and an actual execution plan. Let's break down each letter.
Starting with S, specific. Emphasizing clarity and focus is absolutely crucial here. A vague idea sounds something like, improve the app. Well, what does that even mean? Compare that to a SMART goal. Improve the login feature of the mobile app. Boom! Suddenly your developers know exactly where to look.
Next up is M, for measurable. Make the system faster is honestly a terrible project goal. Faster by how much? By a millisecond? Instead, we use a measurable goal. Reduce system response time from 5 seconds to 2 seconds. Let me ask you, do you currently track your project progress using hard numbers and results like this? Because if you can't measure it, you really can't manage it. Moving on to A, achievable. Goals have to be realistic. Look, we all love ambition, but declaring I'm going to build Facebook in a 2-day project isn't ambition. It's a fast track to developer burnout and, frankly, a laughable impossibility. It sets the whole team up for immediate failure. A realistic, achievable goal is develop a basic chat module in 3 weeks. You got to keep your goals grounded in reality if you want to keep team morale high.
Then we have R for relevant, and this brilliantly illustrates why context is literally everything. Look at this irrelevant goal. Add a music player in a banking app. It's incredibly absurd, right? Why on earth would I want to DJ my checking account? It doesn't matter to the project at all. A relevant goal has to be important and useful, like improve security in the online banking system. Every single task has to justify its existence in your software.
Finally, we round out the SMART framework with T, time-bound. You must have a clear deadline. We'll complete the project someday is not a valid project deadline, it's just a wish. Complete project by the 30th of May? Now that is a commitment. Deadlines force prioritization and real action.
All right, Section 3, Defining Project Scope. Let's set some boundaries.
Project scope management means deciding what will be done in a project and, crucially, what will not be done. I really want to emphasize that second half. Deciding what not to build is just as important, maybe even more important, than deciding what to build. If you don't draw strict boundaries, your project will consume infinite resources.
Let's see how this builds a rock-solid foundation for your project. The process flows in 3 high-level steps. First, planning scope, where you decide exactly how you're going to define and control your boundaries. Second, collecting requirements from your clients or your users. And third, defining scope, which is where you take all those massive wish lists and convert those requirements into one clear, unified project description.
That brings us to Section 4, the work breakdown structure, turning monsters into manageable tasks.
The core philosophy of the work breakdown structure, or WBS, is simple but profound. Keep dividing the project into smaller and smaller parts. The whole goal here is extreme granularity. It's like a giant puzzle. You just keep breaking things down until the tasks are incredibly small, perfectly assignable, and you know exactly who is going to take responsibility for it and exactly how long it will take them to finish.
Let's make this totally concrete. Imagine we're building an e-commerce app. The first step of our work breakdown structure is to identify the major deliverables. For an app like this, our big buckets are UI design, the backend, the database, and testing. But clearly, these are way too big to just hand to one person for a single afternoon.
So what do? We break them down further into actionable subtasks. Notice how that massive back-end deliverable turns into highly specific components like user authentication and a product API. We take the UI and split it into designing the homepage and the product page. We take the database and divide it into designing the schema and storing product data. We're going from overwhelming, abstract concepts straight to actual executable daily tasks.
And now, Section 5. Beware of scope creep. Protect your project at all costs.
We're now entering the final act of our explainer. It is time to introduce the ultimate villain of software development, a monster that every single project manager has to aggressively fight off just to survive. But before this villain can strike, you've got to set up your defenses. You do this by validating scope, which means getting direct, explicit client approval on exactly what you are building. Then, once execution begins, you switch into controlling scope. This is where you strictly manage any requested changes to protect your project. Because I promise you, if you let your guard down,
You get scope creep. This is the totally uncontrolled condition of extra work, extra time, extra cost, and endless adjustments occurring right in the middle of project execution. It is the dramatic antagonist of our story. It always starts innocent, right? Like a simple client request. Hey, can we just add one tiny button here? But it slowly, quietly ruins your timeline and completely drains your budget until the project collapses.
Wow, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground today. From the 4 Ps and SMART goals, all the way to the granularity of the work breakdown structure and dodging the looming threat of scope creep. Armed with these tools, you are totally prepared to tame the chaos of development. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. When the pressure mounts and those tiny little requests start piling up, how will you defend your next project's scope?